You want to show the snake to the camera? Yeah.
Yes.
So we just caught a Texas checkered garter snake. Now, a lot of folks that see this slithering through their backyard are going to think, oh no, a snake. You know, let's kill it. Let's get rid of it. It might bite the kids. Well, that's actually not the case with this little guy here. This little guy is a Texas garter snake, and they come in several different variations as far as overall looks, but this one is a really pretty checkered pattern. I don't know if you can see that. See if I can get the camera to focus on this little guy. But see if it'll, there, now you can see him just a little bit better. But this little guy, be gentle, Aiden. See, I got my 3-year-old here, and he is very intrigued with this snake. Now, these snakes offer some benefits to your backyard. A lot of folks might want to take these little guys and actually, you know, kill them. They might think that they're poisonous, first reaction, but in fact these are actually very beneficial to your backyard. These little guys, they eat a variety of insects that I do not want in my house. Uh-oh, he's slithering away on me. But I know for a fact my dad, he is not a fan of these guys. He looks at them as, you know, these are unnatural. They move in an unnatural way, and they are the devil's work. But personally, I've always found these little guys to be just super cool little critters. You know, they are not out to hurt anybody. They are not out to bother anyone. They are simply just, you know, hanging out and doing their thing. And as you can see, he's just slithering, and he's not interested in harming me. He's not interested in biting me in the slightest way. I don't even think he understands that I'm a lot bigger than him, and there's no way he could ever inflict any damage on me. Now, when it comes to insects, boys, be gentle, Aiden. Now, when it comes to poisonous insects that are roaming around your backyard and making it inside your house, this little guy is your superhero. So he's going to be able to work his way around the corners and the edges and in between the cracks of your foundation and eat at all the different pests that you do not want working their way into your home. You know, so when it comes to crickets, spiders, centipedes, there's some poisonous centipedes in Texas. You know, this little guy is ultimately, he's going to be eating that type of stuff. And you know, they're just real beautiful little snakes. I mean, look at this, the pattern. And I mean, I am not a fan of, and that one thing that you should understand is if you look at it, his head is very narrow. It's very narrow on the sides. It's kind of straight from his neck area all the way down to the front of his head. He doesn't really have any bulges. He doesn't have any bulges here on the side of his head. Now, when you're dealing with poisonous snakes, you'll notice that they're going to be a little bit wider in this area. They're going to look like they have big cheeks. They're going to puff out a bit, and they're going to have a rounded edge right in this area. And typically in Texas, you're looking at moccasins, copperheads, you know, cottonmouths, water moccasins, cottonmouths, copperheads, rattlesnakes, of course. You're going to be looking at some diamondback rattlesnakes. But there are a lot, you know, I think even the coral snake is something you will see sometimes in Texas. Generally, when I grew up, though, I would see these garter snakes, these checkered garter snakes, which would always fascinate me. And then you would also see ribbon snakes. They would look like they had these beautiful yellow stripes running down the sides of them. Kind of like how this guy has some straight lines in his pattern if you look at it, but he is actually a checkered garter snake. And there's also little bitty green ones too that also can help keep your yard you know, bug free. It's important for your kids to identify snakes and tell parents, of course, as well. And that's something that I've been working on with my son, is just getting him to see a snake and understand that snakes are not okay for him to be touching and handling, because I don't want him accidentally grabbing a hold of a poisonous snake that might have made its way up from the riverbed into our backyard, which typically here in Central Texas you're going to be looking at water moccasins, cottonmouths, copperheads, those types of smaller snakes that'll work their way up. There's also some pretty nasty rattlesnakes you'll see too. We got rattlesnakes as well that'll make their way up and around this area, so got mosquitoes getting after me. But anytime you see this little guy slithering through your backyard, don't reach out and try to pick him up immediately before you identify him. You know, you could confuse this snake with maybe a baby rattlesnake, so always properly identify a snake before you address it. Look at that. Just a beautiful snake. I mean, look at that pattern. Real pretty snake. Snakes are beautiful creatures, no doubt about that. But ultimately, I think it's important to identify them and make sure that, you know, you don't cause harm to a snake that will actually benefit you and your family. You know, you want to pet him?
Okay.
Be gentle. Be gentle. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a snake. Now, I'm not encouraging you to, you know, leave a fresh litter of baby rattlesnakes in your backyard for your kids to come across when they're playing. That is not the case. No, that is a very, very bad idea. But a poisonous snake, in my book, unfortunately, is a dead snake. You know, I can't imagine having a poisonous snake around my kid, and for him to accidentally get bit, or even my dogs. You know, my dogs come across these critters and they instinctively want to mess with them, and of course I do not want a venomous snake that's going to cause, you know, could cause a death to one of my animals or a person that I love. So when dealing with snakes, I agree, it's a touchy subject for some folks, and you got guys like my father who are just not a fan of snakes, and they would rather, you know, a snake, any snake is a dead snake. But when it comes to these little garter snakes, these beautiful checkered garter snakes, I think it's important to understand the benefits of having one of these little guys in your backyard, whether you live in the country or even if you live in the city and you have a little bit of a jungle in your backyard. But I hope this encourages you to take a closer look when you do notice that there is a snake in your backyard. Whether you're moving stuff around or you're doing some yard work and you come across one of these little guys, just please identify them properly. Understand the benefits of keeping that little guy around.